You're watching Seattle Seahawks Today by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr. He is Matthew Peterson. A lot of news and rumors items to get to on today's show because there's a lot going on with the Seattle Seahawks and their reported interest in Baker Mayfield, who, according to Tom Pelissero of NFL Network, has requested a trade to get out of Cleveland and be traded by the Cleveland Browns. Here's a report from Tom Pelissero. Baker Mayfield has requested a trade per sources. Cleveland, as we know, has been hoping to move forward after its pursuit of Deshaun Watson. They offered to fly to Texas to meet with Baker Mayfield, but from the other quarterback's perspective, that bridge between the Browns and Mayfield is burned, and it's time to move on now. Now, you're probably watching right now asking yourself, why do the Seahawks factor into this equation? Why do they, Matthew?
Because Josina Anderson, well, Josie's on it. I'm told the Seahawks have discussed exploring acquiring Baker Mayfield at quarterback per league sources. And I don't blame the Seahawks for doing their homework. When you move on from a franchise QB like Russell Wilson, leave no stone unturned.
Yep.
Do not just settle for Drew Lock, put your feet up and go, we'll just call it in and mail it in and roll with Drew. No, you should look at every option out there.
Yep.
This is what the offseason is for, to get ready for the regular season. And so if Baker Mayfield comes available, you got to ask yourself, what's his price? And is that going to get us our best possible maximizing wins and bringing the best out of our players in 2022? And if not, then you stick with Drew Lock, or you look at drafting someone with the 9th overall pick you got from Denver for that big trade. But at the end of the day, Pete Carroll, John Schneider, they have to be busy during this time period. You are a team without a quarterback, and a time in football where if you don't have a quarterback, you won't have a job for long. And I don't say that to send chills down your spine, but that's the way we have seen the NFL operate later. This is a completely quarterback-run league. And so you need to get the best option. And even if that's just a one-year deal or something short-term until you can find something that's more attractive, you got to do that. You got to look and see what the offers are. And Baker Mayfield, he may not be the quarterback of your dreams right now if you're leaving Russell Wilson. That's a far place to fall. But it could be further falling to Drew Lock or to Matt Corral or Carson Strong or Malik Willis or someone else in the draft.
Yeah. So this coming from Albert Breer as well. Browns quarterback Baker Mayfield, as we talked about, he has requested a trade, but Cleveland is denying that request. So if that's the case, it's a pretty fascinating wrinkle in this whole quarterback dilemma and drama-full offseason for Cleveland. Because if they can't move forward with Baker after pursuing not just Deshaun Watson, Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson, where do they go next? Could it be a player like Jimmy Garoppolo, who Seahawks fans are obviously familiar with? But Albert Breer saying, here we go. Yeah,
Joker.
Here we go. The Joker. It's on and popping because this NFL offseason, not just free agency period, has been on and popping. Now, with the Seahawks' reported interest in Baker Mayfield and potentially his interest in Seattle, another team to throw into the mix according to reports, the Indianapolis Colts, should the Seahawks trade for Baker Mayfield? Let us know in the comment section and treat the comment section like a Sports Talk Radio call-in line. Type Y for yes or type N for no. Just some quick takeaways before we get to Allen Robinson. Pete Carroll had said yesterday on Wednesday that the Seahawks love Drew Lock and they really liked him coming out of Missouri. Now, Matthew, you know Drew Lock well.
Yeah.
If I'm Pete Carroll, with how Drew Lock's NFL career has gone so far, I don't want to admit that they loved him coming out of college. And I don't think that he's a viable option to be the starting quarterback. If you can get Baker Mayfield, the talent is there. Last year was awful because of injuries, but 2 years ago, he was pretty good for Kevin Stefanski.
He was good down the stretch in that 2020 season. And to rewind to Pete Carroll's comments on Drew Lock, what's he supposed to say?
Yeah.
You know, you should plan for Drew Lock to be your starting quarterback until told otherwise. We saw, for example, the Browns GM and head coach sing high praises about Baker Mayfield at the start of this offseason and that he's their quarterback in 2022, and then they went fishing for someone else. So if I'm Pete Carroll and I'm saying stuff like this, I wouldn't draw too much away from it. What else is he supposed to say, right? This is coach GM talk right here. So for Pete Carroll to be talking about Drew Lock and liking him coming out of Missouri, hope you like him coming out of Denver, because the 24 starts at Mile High were not good enough for them to not want to seek improvements. And they did that not only once, but twice. They got Teddy Bridgewater last year, and now this year they get Russell Wilson. So 2 times now the Broncos have felt we can do better. And if you're Seattle, I bet you're going to come to that conclusion sooner rather than later.
Now, if you're a Seahawks fan and you haven't subscribed to Seattle Seahawks Today, it's a straight-up no-brainer. YouTube.com/Seahawks TV. Plug in that link. Subscribe to the channel. When news like this happens, we're the first ones to let you know. Best Seahawks coverage out there on the internet. We'll get to Allen Robinson here in just a few moments, but we are approaching 25,000 subscribers on Seattle Seahawks Today, covering free daily videos almost every single day of the week on the latest Seahawks news, Seahawks rumors, NFL draft coverage, and free agency coverage. Just hit that red subscribe button down below. Now, a move that directly impacts Seattle because it comes within the division in the NFC West. Allen Robinson, free agent, leaving the Chicago Bears, signing on with the defending Super Bowl champions in the Los Angeles Rams. It is going to be a 3-year, $46.5 million deal worth a little more than $30 million in guaranteed money. And what's interesting is that you're probably seeing this and you're like, oh, Odell Beckham Jr., he's no longer going to go back to L.A. where he really flourished after that trade with the Cleveland Browns. According to Mike Garafolo, there is still a chance that OBJ actually goes back to L.A. because there is some money there, especially if he takes a discounted deal. But the only problem, you'd be relying on 2 wide receivers coming off torn ACLs in Robert Woods and OBJ. Your takeaways, Matthew?
I don't know how much being too reliant, right? You got Robinson and Cooper Kupp, and then you're right, you got 2 players coming off torn ACLs. And I wonder if for Odell Beckham Jr., who tore his ACL, I think the timetable is very important. In February, he tore his ACL in let me get my math right here, in 2020, in week 7, and then he returned in 2021 in week 4. So it took him nearly a full year to recover. This time happened in February. I don't think he'd be ready by week 1, week 2, week 3, or anytime close to that. So maybe what he ends up doing is just sitting on his back a little bit and saying, all right, now the season's halfway through, let me do what I did last year.
Right.
Let me pick my team. I got released from the Browns. I got to go pick where I wanted to go, and I picked the right team. I won the lottery. I went to the Super Bowl, and our team won. So I'm wondering if that's the play for Odell Beckham Jr. But Allen Robinson, Robert Woods, and Cooper Kupp, if it's just those 3 guys, that's going to be a lot right there. And that's something Seahawks fans and everyone in the NFC West, they're going to have to keep their eye on, because this division was one of the toughest year in and year out. And now it's just getting a little weird, right? You got Trey Lance, Drew Lock, you got a whole bunch of quarterback changes going on here. Who knows what to expect out of the West?
And that's why you love the NFL. Now, while the Seahawks did not sign Allen Robinson, they have not, at least yet, made an offer or traded for Baker Mayfield, because that news is so fresh. They have made a couple of moves. So let's get you caught up on everything Seattle has done throughout this offseason in a transitional offseason, trading away Russell Wilson and cutting Bobby Wagner. Quandre Diggs re-signed with Seattle, good corner. 3 years, $40 million deal, can play a couple of different positions on that defense, corner, safety, in the box. I like that. Al Woods re-signing with the Seahawks, as well as they've really put an emphasis on retaining some of their own players. That's a 2-year, $9 million deal with a little less than $5 million in guaranteed money. And then Will Dissly, somewhat of a confusing and confounding move, because you brought in Noah Fant to be your number 1 tight end, and you're giving $8 million per year to a tight end too. But what do you think about what Seattle has done so far?
I think it's been interesting, like going off of Will Dissly most recently. Is he worth all that money? No. But you're right, when you started off with, it's a transitional offseason. And I don't know if Schneider and Pete Carroll are prepared to hit that hard reset.
Yeah.
When you trade away Russell Wilson, that's kind of the expectation. And now they're doing some minor moves that kind of keep them in between a hard reset and a retool. And we're not really sure, but I think we'll learn when the draft comes around, if they want to go reset or retool. If they want to go retool, probably draft a quarterback like Malik Willis or Kenny Pickett with that top 10 pick they got from Denver. If they don't like any of the QB class, any of the quarterbacks from this year's class, then they go with the reset and they draft a positional player, a best player available, and just kind of punt on this season and wait to draft a quarterback in 2023.
Grade the Seahawks move so far, and with the Baker Mayfield domino potentially to happen sometime down the road, that could change things. But as of right now, grade the Seahawks move so far, A, B, C, D, or F. And thanks for watching us here on Seahawks Today. Don't forget to subscribe.